Hi, David here, and welcome back to the channel. In the previous video, I gave a quick summary of why I'm interested in mediumship and the ability to communicate with people in spirit. Most of us, when we think of mediumship, think in terms of personal messages from people in spirit that we know and who can say things through the medium that are personal to us. And it's lovely to get those messages. As a medium, I've given many of them over the years, and I've enjoyed receiving many of them from other mediums who put their time and energy into doing this work. These messages are important too, as this kind of communication is the basic evidence of personal survival beyond death. One of the best messages I ever received was from one of my great-grandmothers. It included detailed information about the history of one branch of the family, going way back, and some of it conflicted with what I thought I knew about my family. The next time I visited my grandmother, she was able to confirm that what the medium had passed on to me from my great-grandmother was in fact entirely true. And this is definitely one of those messages that encouraged me to develop as a medium myself. But I'm also interested in hearing from people in spirit who can help us explore the bigger questions, such as where do we go when we die, and what's it like over there. Within the spiritualist movement, these are the kind of topics that tend to be referred to as the philosophy or teachings of spiritualism. Spiritualism has produced a lot of written material over the years, whether it's mediums sharing their experience and understanding, or books that set out descriptions of spirit environments, or provide some form of spiritual guidance. Because this is where my own interests take me, I've worked through a fair bit of this material. And for me, the most valuable texts I have ever come across are the automatic writings of an early 20th century medium called James Padgett. Padgett's writings are not all that well known, and a key reason for creating this channel is to try and change that, because I think the information in them is absolutely invaluable. The way that I'm going to use Padgett's messages for this channel is to share and comment on them as a way of helping you build up a picture of what it's like in spirit and how this world fits into that greater reality. On the channel homepage, I include a link to online sites where you can find more about the life that James Padgett lived and who he was. And I'll try and remember to include them on the video description for this video as well. But very briefly, he was a patent attorney based in Washington, DC. After the death of his wife, Helen, he was encouraged by a medium to try automatic writing as a way of receiving messages from Helen. Now, what's automatic writing? When you're communicating with spirits, you can just verbalize or say whatever it is that the spirit communicator is giving you. It might be words, it might be images that you then describe. It might be impressions of another sort that you try and describe, like ideas or concepts that are trying to be conveyed. One option is to write these things down, and that's often what's referred to as inspired writing, because the subject matter is coming from spirit. Where the connection between the medium and the person communicating is particularly strong, the medium may be able to go into a state of trance, or altered state of consciousness, as some people prefer to call it, so that the medium kind of stands aside to let the spirit communicator come forward more fully, even to the extent of controlling the medium's hand. This way, the writing is more directly what the person in spirit wants to say. I've done this kind of writing on occasion, and what's interesting is that it's still a collaborative effort, because as the medium, you're never entirely absent. You're still in your own body after all. But it is possible to get into a state of mind where you're holding the door open to someone else, and therefore don't know what's been written until after it has come through and you've had a chance to look over it again yourself. This is actually quite tricky for someone as nosy as me. I always want to know what's happening. But then good mediumship does take discipline, and it takes time to develop trust with your co-workers. You don't just hold that door open for anyone. Successful automatic writing is quite a thrilling experience when it happens for both the medium and the person in spirit. But the kind of clear, stable connection that allows for extended writing is rare. Partly because not everyone is suited to it, and partly because, like any human skill, it takes time and practice to get right. But gradually, James Padgett learned to do automatic writing. Initially, what spurred him on was hoping to receive some form of communication from his wife Helen, which he did. But as his ability developed, he found, to his surprise, that other spirit communicators, introduced by Helen, also started writing through him. He was reconnected to various family members, grandparents, his mother and father, as well as Helen, and then other people who were complete strangers to him, but who wanted to communicate with and through him. And this is where something quite remarkable happened in terms of the people who came forward and the information they wanted to share with the world through Padgett. Now, why do I value the Padgett messages so highly? My first career was as a lawyer, and the lawyer in me is always looking for a verification of what people say. And one of the ways we can do that is by paying attention to what someone is saying, whether it's consistent over time. Do they change their story? Do they contradict themselves? Even if the content of what someone is saying is credible or incredible, does their tone sound honest? What kind of impression do they give? How do they respond to being tested? When I hear what someone is saying or read what someone has written, questions like these are always in my mind, always checking, always making sure before relying upon something. The point I want to get across just now is that the spirit messages written by Padgett are easily the most consistent, rational, carefully expressed collection of mediumistic writings that I have ever come across. And something deep down in me just gave a huge sigh of relief when I started reading them. We have something like 2,500 messages spread over the best part of a decade, from 1914 until Padgett's own passing to spirit in 1923, although most of them were given between late 1914 and the middle of 1920. For me, the great beauty of these messages is not only in the spiritual value of the content, but it lies also in their ability to satisfy the intellect. Now, through my engagement with spirits, I have learned the value of keeping the mind in the service of the heart. But making sense is always going to be the first demand that I make of any truth claim. And the Padgett messages definitely pass that test. When I talk about keeping the mind in the service of the heart, what I mean is knowing the value of developing our soul senses in addition to the mental abilities that are so valued in this world, in some quarters at least. In particular, the cultivation of our capacity for love, so that it becomes an ability we are confident in using, is something that should be much more highly valued in this world. And this is where we come back to the content of the Padgett messages, because not only do the people writing through Padgett emphasize the importance of developing our natural human ability to love, but they also speak of a higher love, which they call divine love. And they speak of this as being the substance of God, and that it is something that each and every human being can share in without the need for any intermediary. Exploring what that greater love is and what effect it has upon the human soul and how it is that we go about sharing in it are going to be the key things that we will be looking at in the videos for this channel. So I want to invite you to come along with me as we explore some of the messages that James Padgett received. I'm looking forward to sharing with you what I've learned and showing you how to explore that knowledge for yourself. So I hope you'll come along with me and see for yourself why I find this material so fascinating. Some of the people who communicated through Padgett have been in spirit for a very long time indeed. But in the next few videos, we're going to start by looking at some of the messages that Padgett received from his wife Helen after she passed to spirit. They are wonderfully affectionate, and they contain some fascinating material about life and spirit. And they help us to see how Padgett's own understanding started to build in response to what he was learning from the people who were communicating with him. It's YouTube, so do that like and subscribe thing if you want to make sure you're notified of the next video. Going forward, it's my intention to upload a new video each Sunday and Wednesday, if I can keep to that schedule. There will be a podcast using the audio from this video together with a written transcript, in case that's easier for you than relying upon the written subtitles. And I'll put links for those in the video description. So take care until next time, and I hope to see you for the next video. Thank you for watching.